It began as a fairy tale, a whirlwind romance that culminated in a wedding fit for royalty. A young bride, glowing with happiness, was whisked away by her wealthy husband for the honeymoon of her dreams. Their destination, a private, state-of-the-art yacht sailing across pristine blue waters, far from the eyes of the world. To anyone watching, it seemed like the perfect picture of love and luxury. But as the waves gently rocked the boat and the sun dipped below the horizon, the events on that yacht took a turn that no one could have foreseen. A life filled with promise was abruptly cut short, and the man who seemed to have it all would soon learn that even the most powerful cannot escape the consequences of their actions. What drove this newlywed groom to such a shocking act? What secrets lay hidden beneath his charming exterior? And how did the forces of justice unravel his web of lies, bringing the truth to light? This is the story of betrayal, tragedy, and a karmic reckoning that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about love and trust. Before we dive into the details, welcome to True Crime Mysteries, the channel where we uncover the most chilling, real-life stories of greed, betrayal, and justice. If you're fascinated by true crime and the twists and turns of real-life mysteries, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. Now, let's unravel the gripping tale of a dream honeymoon that turned into a nightmare. To understand how a honeymoon turned into a tragedy, we must first explore the lives of the people at the center of this story. A man whose wealth knew no bounds and a woman who believed she had found her fairy tale ending. The groom, Thomas Whitaker, was no stranger to the finer things in life. A self-made multimillionaire, Thomas built his empire in the world of high-stakes real estate. Known for his charm, sharp business acumen, and insatiable appetite for success, he had become a powerful figure, envied by many and admired by more. To understand how a honeymoon turned into a tragedy, we must first explore the lives of the people at the center of this story. A man whose wealth knew no bounds and a woman who believed she had found her fairy tale ending. The groom, Thomas Whitaker, was no stranger to the finer things in life. A self-made multimillionaire, Thomas built his empire in the world of high-stakes real estate. Known for his charm, sharp business acumen, and insatiable appetite for success, he had become a powerful figure, envied by many and admired by more. But beneath the polished exterior lay a different side of Thomas. His relationships were transactional, driven by power and control. Though he had many admirers, his love life had always been turbulent. Divorce after divorce had marked his past, with accusations of emotional manipulation and control following him from one marriage to the next. Still, he was undeterred, convinced that his wealth and status would allow him to shape the world to his liking. Then, there was Emily, a bright young woman, barely in her 20s, who came from a modest background. She had grown up dreaming of a life beyond the small town she knew so well. When she met Thomas, she saw a future of luxury, stability, and a life that seemed too perfect to pass up. She had never imagined herself in the world of high society, but with Thomas by her side, everything seemed within reach. He swept her off her feet, and before long, they were engaged. A whirlwind romance that seemed destined for a picture-perfect life. Emily was captivated by Thomas's charm, the way he made her feel special, the way he promised her a life beyond her wildest dreams. The wedding was a grand affair, an event filled with lavish celebrations and extravagant displays of wealth. But what Emily didn't know, what no one knew, was that Thomas had his own set of rules. His need for control and his penchant for keeping others in his grip would soon reveal itself in a way no one could have imagined. As the wedding ended, the couple embarked on their honeymoon, a private, luxurious getaway on Thomas's state-of-the-art yacht. The trip was meant to be the start of a new chapter, one filled with promise and bliss. But even in this moment of paradise, cracks began to show. Emily's excitement quickly turned into a quiet unease. The dream honeymoon was quickly becoming a place where secrets and resentments would unfold, and soon, it would be a place of horror. What should have been the most romantic getaway of Emily's life quickly became a turning point, a moment that would forever alter the course of her future. The yacht, a gleaming symbol of Thomas's wealth, drifted through the crystal-clear waters of the Mediterranean. To outsiders, it was a paradise, a private oasis away from the prying eyes of the world. But beneath the calm surface, the atmosphere between the newlyweds was anything but serene. Emily had always imagined her honeymoon would be filled with laughter, affection, and love. Instead, she began to sense a growing tension between herself and Thomas. The honeymoon, once a dream, now felt like a gilded cage. Every day, Thomas's mood seemed to shift, and his behavior became more erratic. He grew distant, sometimes cold, while other times, his anger flared over trivial matters. Emily, unsure of what had changed, couldn't help but feel the distance between them growing wider. On the evening of the incident, the tension reached its breaking point. The couple had just finished a quiet dinner on the deck, the sunset casting a golden glow across the horizon. But instead of basking in the romance of the moment, an argument erupted. Thomas, his voice raised, accused Emily of being ungrateful, of not appreciating the life he had given her. Emily, taken aback by his harsh words, tried to defend herself, but the words seemed to fuel his anger further. What started as a small disagreement escalated quickly into something much darker. The argument continued as they moved toward the edge of the yacht. Emily, exhausted by the emotional toll of the confrontation, attempted to walk away. But Thomas wasn't done. He followed her, his temper flaring, his words sharp and cutting. And then, in a moment that no one could have predicted, Thomas pushed her. It wasn't a gentle shove, as if he were trying to calm her down. No, it was forceful, deliberate. In one swift motion, he shoved Emily toward the edge of the boat. The water below, once calm and inviting, now looked like an abyss. Emily, caught off guard, had no time to react. She fell into the cold, unforgiving waters, the shock of the fall leaving her gasping for air. Thomas stood there, frozen for a moment. The shock of what he had just done hung in the air, thick and suffocating. But as the seconds passed, his survival instinct kicked in. He quickly scrambled to the railing, peering over the edge to see if Emily was still in the water. To his relief, she was struggling to stay afloat. The last thing he wanted was to have anyone witness what had just happened. His first thought was to cover it up, to pretend like nothing had occurred. The yacht crew, unaware of the gravity of the situation, was called in to assist, and they pulled Emily from the water. She was shaken, bruised, and terrified, but alive. Thomas's demeanor, however, remained unervingly calm. He told the crew it was an accident, a misunderstanding. He claimed that Emily had slipped, that she had lost her balance and fallen overboard. He painted a picture of a clumsy mistake, a harmless mishap. But deep down, everyone could sense something wasn't right. Emily, though grateful to be alive, felt a growing unease. She knew something had changed between them, and her instincts told her that what had happened on that yacht was no accident. The cracks in their relationship had finally revealed their true nature, and she realized, too late, that the man she had married was capable of much more than she had ever imagined. As the yacht sailed back to port, the serene beauty of the Mediterranean waters seemed to mock the chaos that had unfolded just hours earlier. What had been a peaceful honeymoon had turned into something far darker. Emily, still shaken from the fall, now had to face the reality of her situation. The man she had trusted, the man she had married, had just pushed her into the ocean. And the truth, as it often does, would eventually come to the surface. Back on land, Emily's physical wounds healed quickly, but the emotional scars would take much longer to fade. In the days that followed, Emily found herself caught in a web of fear and confusion. She couldn't understand what had driven Thomas to such an extreme act. She was scared, but more than that, she was angry. She knew that if she didn't act, the incident would be swept under the rug, and Thomas would continue to live his life as if nothing had happened. But the question was, could she prove what had really happened on that yacht? Thomas, ever the master of manipulation, had already crafted his version of events. His claim that Emily had simply fallen overboard was widely accepted by the crew and anyone else who had been on the yacht. But Emily's story was different. She knew what she had experienced, and she was determined to make others believe her. Emily confided in a close friend, someone she trusted completely. This friend, though hesitant at first, agreed to help Emily take the next steps. They reached out to a private investigator, someone who could look beyond the surface and uncover the truth. The investigator, a seasoned professional with years of experience, took the case on. His job wasn't just to find evidence of what happened on that yacht. It was to uncover the kind of man Thomas really was. The investigator began by digging into Thomas's past, uncovering a trail of troubling behavior. There were whispers of his previous marriages ending in bitter divorces, each one marked by allegations of manipulation, deceit, and control. The investigator spoke to former employees, business partners, and even ex-wives. Slowly, a pattern emerged, a pattern of a man who would stop at nothing to maintain control over the people in his life. And now, it seemed, Emily had become the latest target in his web. As the investigation deepened, so did the tension between Emily and Thomas. He began to notice that Emily wasn't as compliant as she once had been. She asked questions, made subtle references to the incident, and seemed more distant. Thomas, ever the manipulator, tried to gaslight her, convincing her that she was overreacting. He suggested that she was imagining things, that the fall had been an accident, and that she needed to move on. But Emily, emboldened by the investigator's findings, refused to back down. The investigator eventually uncovered crucial evidence, security footage from the yacht, hidden in the ship's internal systems. The footage was damning. It showed Emily standing near the edge of the yacht, seemingly engaged in a calm conversation with Thomas. Then, without warning, Thomas shoved her forcefully into the water. The evidence was clear. This was no accident. Armed with this new evidence, Emily was finally able to confront Thomas. The truth, now undeniable, shattered the facade he had so carefully crafted. But the battle was far from over. Thomas, realizing the severity of the situation, tried to deny everything. He attempted to discredit Emily, questioning her mental state, and even tried to use his wealth and influence to silence her. But Emily, with the help of her friend and the investigator, pressed on. The truth had been uncovered, and there was no going back. The public was soon made aware of the truth. Emily's story was shared far and wide, and the outrage was immediate. How could someone so wealthy, so powerful, commit such an unforgivable act? The shockwaves of Thomas's betrayal reverberated through the media, and the investigation took on a life of its own. People wanted answers, and they wanted justice. What happens when the truth is revealed, and the consequences of a terrible crime can no longer be ignored? In the case of Thomas Whitaker, the story was far from over. As the world watched, the wheels of justice began to turn, and a man who had thought he could get away with everything was about to face the consequences of his actions. The news of Emily's ordeal spread like wildfire. The once glamorous image of Thomas Whitaker, wealthy, charming, and untouchable, began to crumble. Media outlets across the globe reported on the shocking betrayal, and the public's response was swift and unforgiving. Emily's bravery in speaking out against her husband's actions inspired countless people to come forward with their own stories of abuse and manipulation, adding fuel to the fire. But Thomas, with all his wealth and influence, wasn't going to let his reputation slip away so easily. He hired the best legal team money could buy. They painted him as a victim of circumstance, claiming that Emily had been unstable, that she had been the one to instigate the incident, and that her fall had been a result of her own recklessness. They attempted to shift the blame, to make Emily appear as though she was the one responsible for what happened. But Emily was ready. Armed with the security footage, the investigators' findings, and the testimonies of those who had seen the darker side of Thomas, she stood strong. The footage was irrefutable. The truth was there for all to see. In the courtroom, Thomas's facade began to crack as his past actions were laid bare for everyone to witness. The carefully crafted image of the successful businessman, the doting husband, was shattered in front of a captivated audience. As the trial progressed, more details came to light. Thomas's previous marriages were examined, and the allegations of abuse and control were brought into focus. His ex-wives, former employees, and even a few close friends testified about his manipulative behavior, painting a disturbing picture of a man who used his wealth and power to control every aspect of those around him. The defense tried to discredit the witnesses, but the evidence was overwhelming. The footage, the testimonies, the patterns of behavior, it all pointed to one undeniable truth. Thomas had thrown Emily off the yacht in a moment of rage, and he had tried to cover it up. There was no escaping it. When the verdict came down, it was a moment of justice for Emily and a turning point in the story. The courtroom was filled with tension as the judge delivered the final decision. Thomas Whitaker was found guilty of attempted murder and abuse. His wealth, his power, his charm, none of it could save him from the consequences of his actions. The sentence was harsh: a lengthy prison term, the loss of his fortune, and the public disgrace that would follow him for the rest of his life. Thomas, the man who had once seemed untouchable, was now just another convicted criminal, forced to reckon with the damage he had caused. For Emily, the trial was a painful but necessary step toward healing. The road ahead would be long, but she was no longer a victim. She had reclaimed her life, her voice, and her sense of self. Her story had become one of resilience, of fighting for justice in a world that often lets the powerful go unpunished. She had faced the darkness and come out stronger on the other side. But the aftermath of the trial didn't just change Thomas's life. It had a ripple effect that reached far beyond the courtroom. The case brought attention to the toxic power dynamics that exist in relationships where wealth and control are involved. It sparked conversations about abuse, manipulation, and the need for stronger protections for those in vulnerable situations. Emily's courage inspired others to come forward, to share their own stories of betrayal and abuse, and to demand accountability from those in power. Her case became a symbol of hope for those who had been silenced, showing them that justice was possible, even against the most powerful of adversaries. The trial had ended, and the world had watched as Thomas Whitaker was held accountable for his actions. But as the dust settled and the echoes of the courtroom faded, a final twist in this harrowing story was waiting to be uncovered. What had started as a tale of betrayal and abuse was about to reveal a shocking revelation that no one could have anticipated. Months after the trial, as Emily began to rebuild her life, she received a call that would change everything. It was from the investigator who had helped her expose Thomas's crime. He had been going over the case files once again, looking for any loose ends, and in doing so, he had stumbled upon something unexpected. While reviewing Thomas's financial records, the investigator had found evidence of something more disturbing than anyone had realized. It wasn't just that Thomas had manipulated those around him. He had been involved in a series of illicit dealings that extended far beyond his personal relationships. Hidden accounts, offshore investments, and business dealings with dangerous individuals. Thomas's wealth wasn't just built on his legitimate success. It was built on deceit, manipulation, and criminal activity. The revelation was shocking. Thomas's empire, the one he had so carefully crafted, was built on lies. And the truth about how deep his criminal activities ran had been kept hidden, buried beneath layers of wealth and influence. But now, with the public's attention still focused on his trial, the investigators' findings would once again shine a light on the darkness lurking behind Thomas's persona. Emily, having already been through so much, was faced with a choice. Should she reveal this new information to the authorities? Should she continue to expose the full extent of Thomas's actions? Or should she let it go, knowing that he was already facing the consequences of his initial crime? After much contemplation, Emily chose to act. With the help of the investigator, Emily brought the new evidence to light. The authorities were shocked by the scale of Thomas's illegal activities. As a result, a second investigation was launched, focusing not just on his assault on Emily, but on his entire criminal network. It wasn't long before Thomas's entire empire began to unravel. What had once seemed like a man who had it all was now revealed to be nothing more than a house of cards, ready to collapse. In the end, Thomas's downfall was complete. Not only did he face the consequences for his attempt on Emily's life, but his criminal empire was dismantled, and his wealth was seized. His name, once synonymous with power and prestige, became a cautionary tale. The man who had tried to silence his wife, to push her out of his life with violence, was now a broken man, left with nothing but the wreckage of his actions. For Emily, the journey was far from over, but she had come out stronger, not just surviving the horrors she had faced, but thriving in the aftermath. She had reclaimed her voice, her power, and her dignity. She had shown the world that even the most powerful, the most untouchable, could be brought down by the truth. As time passed, Emily found peace. She no longer lived in fear, no longer let the shadows of her past control her future. And while the scars of what had happened on that fateful honeymoon would never fully disappear, they no longer defined her. She had found a new life, one built on strength, resilience, and the unwavering belief that justice would always prevail in the end. This story is a reminder that even in the face of the greatest betrayals, justice can be found. No one, no matter how powerful or untouchable they may seem, is above the consequences of their actions. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories that reveal the shocking truth behind the headlines. Stay tuned for more, and remember, sometimes the truth is more powerful than we could ever imagine.